So let's go to Sin City now. A lot to talk with Ray Elgaard about, Canadian Football Hall of Famer. Good day, Ray. The look on your face kind of says it all, man. How are things in Vegas?
It's quite a ride. It's an interesting time here. I was listening to your show a little bit there before I came on, and you mentioned this was day 7 without sports. This is day 7 of global health and economic disaster. So it was a little bit of a shock when they canceled or postponed the NHL season. I had my schedule set to watch the game that night that they did postpone it, but I've long forgotten that. So it's okay with me.
Well, you mentioned the financial thing. We got Mike Abou-Meshrik in here. He's a money guy. The Dumbas are money guys with Investors Group. Do you want to go down that road or not?
I'm not sure what you mean. Go down that road.
Just the devastation, financial. What this is doing to the finances of the globe.
Oh, it's a disaster. I'm 60 years old. This is the worst financial crisis I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm right in the middle of it in the sense that I've got some responsibilities for some people. But so yeah, it's a little bit of a crisis, and it's an interesting time to be complaining about the fact that I can't watch hockey. So, although yesterday I did play hockey, and so we play 3 times a week here. Me and a bunch of buddies just play some pickup stuff, and there was some discussion in the dressing room yesterday about the concern that the NFL might postpone their season, and I quashed the crisis in the room by letting everyone know that the CFL season will go ahead as planned.
Well, that's the word. I don't think anybody really knows. I think that was a word of put that out there for hope for people. Ray, nobody knows, right? That's got to be the same for you down there. I mean, what are you here? We just had a guy from Maryland on last hour from Baltimore. He wrote a book on the Stallions, and he's saying they're all sitting there under lockdown like we are here, and I'm sure Vegas is the same. Nobody knows where this is going unless you do.
Well, no, I don't know anything more than anybody else does, but I know where it's already at. And so it's a pretty serious situation. And, I was just kidding about quashing the crisis in the room about the CFL season. I'm sure it'll go ahead. I mean, we'll get past this like everything else. And, that has sort of sprung up in the past in this kind of situation. And it's just a matter of getting through it, trying to stay healthy and stay out of the way and hang on to your cash. And, life will return to normal, I'm sure. It's just kind of weird.
I know our co-host Derek Myers has some questions for you, but I'll ask you this. Have you ventured down to the Strip at all, Ray? I know you don't care to, but on a normal day. But what's it like down there? I've heard they've shut down everything.
Yeah, I haven't personally ventured down there lately. The only time I would go down there was for Knights games, and we haven't had any of those for a while. But Las Vegas, regardless of the Strip, Las Vegas right now is on a 30-day mandatory stay in the house. All the businesses are closed, everything except essential banks and pharmacies and grocery stores. Everything else is closed. And I went to the bank this morning, and even here in the suburbs, it was like The Walking Dead. It was like an episode of The Walking Dead. You're walking around, and there's no traffic noise. There's hardly any people out and about, and it's become quite serious. And I'm sure that down at the Strip, it's even more creepy than that. Obviously, they're used to having thousands of people just wandering the streets, and right now there's nobody.
Ray, I'm obviously a frequent visitor. I'm supposed to be there late in April. I don't think that's going to happen now. But aside from the Strip, it's the world's entertainment capital. What is the news saying? As you mentioned, never seen anything like this financially. I can't imagine. I think Vegas closing down for 30 days. That this is unprecedented. What's the vibe down in there?
Well, there is no vibe. The vibe is it's like an episode of The Walking Dead. Businesses are closed. People are staying home, and the Strip itself is obviously a focal point of. And travel is what they don't want people doing right now. They don't want people gathering. They don't want people from places where they don't know, if they're infected or if they're sick or whatever. And so Vegas is shut down hard right now.
And are they complying with that CDC 60-day thing? Is that what you're hearing in the news?
I'm not sure about the 60-day thing, but the governor of Nevada has mandated that all businesses in Las Vegas be closed for 30 days. Now they can't really make a law that you can't leave your house and wander around the neighborhood. I mean, you know, people can do what they want, but businesses are closed. Everything that's non-essential is closed. People are at home. Nobody's going to school. Nobody's encouraged to gather. I went to In-N-Out for a burger yesterday. Wasn't allowed to eat inside the restaurant. Couldn't even eat on the patio. We sat on the patio and started chowing down, and they came and booted us off the property.
Jeez.
So it's a pretty interesting time here.
Oh, is it ever? And you're seeing a lot of that here in your somewhat adopted hometown. Coffee shops have all the stools up on the tables. You can't go in and have a coffee. You can pick up your coffee, but you can't stay. A lot of great comments coming in, Ray, from your fans, by the way, that are so happy to see you and see that you're looking so well. Can we talk about a happier thing? I mean, I was just through.
Of course, yeah.
I was just through Vegas, and our schedules didn't line up, which is unfortunate. But I hadn't been to a Golden Knights game before, Ray.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You weren't joking.
No, it's really quite the affair. And I've been to other NHL games in other cities, but not on a regular basis. And I can't imagine that any city has the vibe in their building like they have here. And, you know, for a longer term fan, somebody that's been to games since day one, you know, you can't forget about that story either, that the first season they played, we had this mass murder thing downtown and 51 people slaughtered by some nutcase with a high-powered bump stock gun or whatever it was. And, you know, when you look at it in its entirety, it's just been an unbelievable story. And that building is rocking like nobody's business.
Do you expect any carryover now that an NFL team is coming, that there will be the same kind of excitement once the Raiders actually do get playing there?
Yeah, well, that was one of my concerns, is that, you know, like, people here are kind of excited that, okay, we got a hockey team and now we're getting a football team. That really puts us on the map. And, you know, the city can only support so much stuff probably when it comes to that, but it's going to be a boon to travel and to gambling. So having an NFL team here is a big deal, and whether it negatively affects the Golden Knights remains to be seen. But the Golden Knights I think, have created a position for themselves where they're considered now to be like the local team, and the Raiders haven't even had a game here yet. So I'm not sure that they've got that same commitment, you know, from the citizens here that the Golden Knights will ever have.
You know what's interesting about that, Ray, is that when I mentioned I was just there, I mean, you're a numbers guy. You would get the demographics far more than I would. 2 million? Is that accurate? Population of the greater Vegas area?
Yeah, I think it's a little more than that, but yeah, sounds about right.
Well, that's a pretty good size. I mean, you got the Golden Knights, you got the Raiders coming, which, by the way, is so expensive. I mean, all my Vegas friends couldn't believe what the Golden Knights were going to cost. What I hear for the Raiders is insane. So are people going to get over that, or are they going to turn their back?
You talking about fans paying those kind of prices?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. But as far as getting over it, they seem to have gotten over it. They sold the place out in no time. And, you know, the expensive part about the Raider tickets is the seat license, and those have already been purchased. So I don't know if the games themselves, if the game tickets are that big of a deal. But I think they're already over it. I mean, the place is sold out, and people have coughed up their dough. And they may not all be local Vegas sports fans. They might be people from Southern California or Northern California or whatever. But that money's already been bought and paid for. So, yeah, they seem to be over it.
You're right. I don't get it. But the lady that was sitting behind us at the Golden Knights game had 3 season tickets, and she didn't look like she had 2 nickels to rub together. But $21,000 didn't seem like a big deal to her. So we'll see how far it goes. Hey, Ray, one more. We're telling some stories here, and it came up. The riders at the Las Vegas Posse game, Casey Parks butchering out Canada. Jeff Courier calling the game in his underwear because it was so hot. What was?
Well, I never heard that one.
Rumor has it. What do you remember about that game?
Well, the thought of Jeff Courier in his underwear is now going to be a horrible memory. I remember how freaking hot it was. I mean, it was just brutal. I mean, I remember it was a good game. I actually have some pretty clear memories of it. It was a really interesting sort of a time, which is maybe why I remember that game. But it was so freaking hot, and the game was back and forth, and they were a good team and all American players. So we had that cultural, thing going. And then the game went to overtime, and it was just brutal. I mean, I must have lost 20 pounds, and that would be a good idea now for me to go run around down there and see if I can lose 20 pounds. Now, I also remember my family was there. Gina had come down for the game, and her parents had come from Southern California, and they were hosing people down in the stands with hoses. It was just unbelievable.
Well, I mentioned there's a book out on the Stallions now, and there's a lot of people in the CFL, movers and shakers, Ray, that want to ignore that part of their past. They don't want to talk about it as a league. Is that something that should be celebrated, the U.S. expansion, or forgotten?
I don't know if it should be either. I mean, I don't know why they would want to forget it. I mean, history is what it is, and it's the facts, and it's something that took place. But celebrating it, I don't think I'd be necessarily celebrating a time when the CFL was on its last legs financially, and people were struggling to make a living playing football. So, it is what it is. So I just look at it factually as what it was.
No, you're right, but I mean they're selling merchandise of the teams, T-shirts, right, of the Shreveport Pirates and the Birmingham Barracudas and the Las Vegas Posse. That merchandise has been out there, and some think that that's not something they want to celebrate. I mean, I guess my question to you is: do you look back at that?
So then, don't buy a T-shirt.
Exactly. But do you look
I don't celebrate the Republican Party here in the U.S. or Donald Trump, but I don't throw rocks at people that have a T-shirt on.
Yeah, well, I wish more people were like that, Ray. But I guess regarding that era, do you look back at it fondly, or was it a struggle? Did you have fun in that time?
It was both. It was a struggle in the sense that finances were tight, not only for teams but for players. We weren't making what we should have been making, and the league was on its last legs, and so that kind of scares you, and you don't want to be part of something like that dying. But it was still fun. It was still pro football. It was still, a bunch of guys get on a plane and go bang heads and, see a new city and, and all the positive things that you get when you're a professional athlete.
Yep, absolutely. One more. Viewers are asking if you ever make your way back to Regina and for Rider games, do you envision, assuming there's a season, that you'll be here for 2020 Grey Cup, Ray?
I've looked into it. Actually was trying to find out if they had made any arrangements for alumni, tickets and things of that nature. But so I'm actually hoping to come for the Grey Cup, but it hasn't been put together yet. And as far as past trips, I go to Regina almost on an annual basis. So I was up there last year. We went to a game. I think there was some kind of 89 Grey Cup 30-year thing. And I can't remember who we saw play, but it was a fun time. We were hanging out in the stadium, drinking beers together, and spent a couple of days and had a barbecue at Rogers out at the cabin, and saw a bunch of guys I hadn't seen in a long time. It was a great trip.
Isn't that funny? You don't remember the games. I think it was BC, but that was the 89 reunion. You're right, game. So, Ray, I appreciate the time. Hope to see you next time we're down in Sin City, man. Appreciate it. And by the way, this show's coming to Cablevision in the United States, so tell your friends.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys.
Try to contain your... We will. You too. Stay safe.
Got to send him a hat.
You're watching Rod Pedersen On Demand. For more of The Rod Pedersen Show, visit rodpedersen.com or follow Rod Pedersen on social media.